When we think of the judges from the Hebrew Bible, figures like Gideon, Samson, and Deborah, what comes to mind? We often picture larger-than-life heroes, divinely appointed warriors leading Israel to victory against impossible odds. They are the stuff of legends, their names synonymous with strength, faith, and miraculous deliverance. We see Gideon with his army of 300, Deborah leading from under her palm tree, and Samson, the strong man who could tear down temples. These are the blockbuster moments, the highlight reels of their lives that have been told and retold for centuries. They are presented as infallible, almost superhuman figures, chosen by God to be champions for their people. It's an inspiring image, one of unwavering courage and divine favor. But what if that's only half the story? What if the greatest challenges these heroes faced weren't on the battlefield, but behind closed doors, within the walls of their own homes? The Bible, if you look closely, doesn't just give us the public victories. It offers subtle, often heartbreaking, glimpses into their private lives, their family struggles, and their personal failings. These aren't just epic tales of war. They are deeply human stories filled with domestic drama, complicated relationships, and profound personal pain. We tend to focus on the external conflicts, the clash of swords and the fall of enemies, but we often overlook the internal battles that shape these individuals just as much, if not more. Let's start with Gideon. We remember him for his victory over the Midianites with a tiny, unconventional army. He's the humble farmer who became a national hero, but the story doesn't end there. After his triumph, the people offered him kingship, which he refused, saying, "The Lord will rule over you." A noble sentiment, right? However, his actions tell a different story. He took the gold from the spoils of war and made an ephod, a priestly garment which became an object of worship and a spiritual snare for his family and all of Israel. It was a lapse in judgment that tainted his legacy. But his personal life is even more revealing. The Bible tells us Gideon had many wives and 70 sons. This detail alone points to a household built on status and power, far from the humble farmer he once was. Then there's Abimelech, his son born to a concubine in Shechem. The name Abimelech literally means, "My father is king," a name Gideon himself gave him. It's a quiet contradiction to his public refusal of kingship. It suggests that while he rejected the title, he certainly enjoyed the power and lifestyle of a monarch. This single-name choice hints at a man grappling with pride and ambition, a conflict raging within him long after the Midianites were defeated. The story of Gideon's family culminates in tragedy. After his death, Abimelech, driven by a desperate need for power and legitimacy, murders his 70 half-brothers to secure his rule. A house built on ego and division ultimately consumed itself in a wave of fratricide. Gideon's greatest failure wasn't a military defeat, but a domestic catastrophe rooted in his own unresolved internal conflicts. Now, let's turn to Jephthah. He is remembered for his tragic, reckless vow. Called upon to lead Israel against the Ammonites, he promised God that if he returned victorious, he would sacrifice whatever first came out of his house to greet him. We all know the devastating outcome. It was his daughter, his only child, who came out dancing to celebrate his return. This story is often debated for its theological implications, but let's look at it through the lens of Jephthah's personal life. The Bible introduces him as the son of a prostitute, cast out by his half-brothers who told him, "You are not to get any inheritance in our family." He grew up an outcast, a man defined by rejection and a desperate need to prove his worth. When the elders of Gilead came begging for his help, he didn't just agree. He negotiated. He made them swear that if he won, he would be their head, their ruler. His entire motivation was to gain the acceptance and status he had been denied his whole life. His vow to God, then, can be seen not just as an act of piety, but as an act of desperation. It was a transactional bargain made by a man insecure in his position, trying to secure a divine guarantee for a victory that would finally give him the honor he craved. The tragedy wasn't just the loss of his daughter. It was the culmination of a life spent trying to earn a place at the table. His victory on the battlefield was immediately overshadowed by a devastating personal loss, a direct consequence of his own deep-seated insecurities. The hero who saved Israel couldn't save his own family from the fallout of his past. And then there's Samson, the ultimate symbol of strength. His story is filled with epic feats, slaying a lion with his bare hands, killing 1,000 men with the jawbone of a donkey. He was a Nazarite set apart for God from birth, a man whose physical power was legendary. But his story is also a relentless cycle of personal weakness. His fatal flaw wasn't a kryptonite-like substance, but his own impulsivity and his disastrous choices in relationships. His life was a series of conflicts driven not by military strategy, but by personal vendettas and romantic entanglements. His first marriage to a Philistine woman from Timnah was against his parents' wishes and ended in betrayal and mass bloodshed. His interactions with the prostitute in Gaza, and finally, his relationship with Delilah, all follow the same pattern. Samson, the strongest man in the world, was consistently overpowered by his own desires. He was a hero who couldn't govern himself. The great battles of his life were triggered by arguments over riddles, by betrayals in the bedroom, and by his inability to control his passions. His final act of pulling down the temple on himself and the Philistines was an act of both vengeance and suicide. The tragic end of a man whose immense strength was never matched by inner discipline. His greatest enemy was never the Philistine army. It was the man he saw in the mirror. So what does all this mean? It means that these biblical figures were not marble statues or flawless superheroes. They were real people. They were messy, complicated, and deeply human. Their stories reveal that true strength isn't just about winning battles. It's about integrity, wisdom, and the difficult, often unseen work of managing our own homes, our own egos, and our own hearts. Their public triumphs are inspiring, but it's their private struggles that make them relatable. They show us that you can be a hero in the eyes of the world and still be wrestling with profound brokenness at home. Looking at these stories forces us to see history, and perhaps even our modern-day heroes, in a new light. It encourages us to look beyond the curated public image and consider the whole person. The most profound lessons aren't always found in the grand victories, but in the quiet struggles, the personal failures, and the difficult realities of their domestic lives. These heroes behind closed doors remind us that the human heart is the most complex battlefield of all. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts. What other historical figures do you think have untold personal stories that might change the way we see them? Drop your ideas in the comments below. If you found this exploration interesting and want to dive deeper into the hidden narratives of history, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.